Good morning. Welcome on this beautiful Easter Sunday morning to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church on Zoom. My name is Steve Mortihiro, and I am your worship associate today. I'm thrilled to be joined by our minister, the Reverend Sian Wiltshire, and our Director of Music Ministries, Beth Syverson, in welcoming you this morning. Reverend Judy Tomlinson, our Director of Religious Education, already held classes for the children earlier this morning, and she will offer one for our youth after the service. We also would like to recognize the many volunteers that have helped to put this service together today. You can see their names at the bottom of the screen. At this time, let us respectfully recognize that our church property rests on a Hashimen and Tongva land. I would like to invite you to open the chat box, and if you haven't done so already, send out a greeting to everybody. This morning, as part of our effort to make our services more accessible, we have enabled closed captioning throughout our service. Each participant can individually control whether to display the subtitles or hide them. If you'd like to turn on or turn off the subtitles, please see the detailed instructions that we have been sending you through chat. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We are bound together not by a common set of rules or beliefs, but rather a covenant. A covenant is simply a promise that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you are seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. After the service, we will be placing everyone who remains into Zoom breakout rooms for 20 minutes of coffee and conversation. Everyone is welcome to participate, and it's a great way to get to know people in the congregation. Our worship begins with the lighting of our chalice, the symbol of the Unitarian Universalist tradition. As we light it, we say our unison affirmation. If you have a chalice or candle at home, we can light them together. Please join me now as we say, love is the spirit of this church and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. This we affirm together.
Please join me. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come. Though we've broken our vows 1,000 times, though we've broken our vows 1,000 times, though we've broken our vows 1,000 times, though we've broken our vows 1,000 times. Come along. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come again. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come yet again.
If you are who you were, and if the person next to you is who he or she was, if none of us have changed since the day we came in here, we have failed. The purpose of this community, of any church, temple, zendo, mosque, is to help its people grow. We do this through encounters with the unknown in ourselves, in one another, in the other, whoever that might be for us, however hard that might be, because these encounters have many gifts to offer. So may you go forth from here this morning, not who you were, but who you could be. So may we all. So this morning, we're starting off a little bit differently. I have some sort of fun exercises, some questions for you to answer. And just so you know, this is going to be a little bit of an interactive service. So I just want to let you know that this week, by the way, marks my 10th anniversary of being fellowshipped as a minister. I was actually fellowshipped as a minister in our denomination on April 1st in 2011, and you can make of that whatever you will. But over the years that I have done this, I've asked people these questions, and I've even done this actually in a formal survey, or I've done it in small groups, or even just individuals that I've spoken to. That there are two questions that I've always asked people about why they come to church. And this morning, I'd like to hear your answers. And now I'm kind of curious about a third question that I have for you. So we're going to open up the chat, and you're invited to put your answers in there. Now, I'll read some of them out loud, as many as I can, but I might not get to all of them. The first two are pretty easy questions. The third one's a little bit harder. So just, you'll take a moment to think about it, pop them into chat. So my first question is this. Why did you decide to come to this church in the first place? Like way back when you were looking around maybe for a church or something, what was the reason? Why did you decide, and specifically this church? I'm curious to know. So put those in the chat as you will. And let's see here. So Nancy puts in, she says, it fit our family. Yeah. Hannah says her sister started attending and she heard about it and wanted to do it. So yeah, word of mouth, sometimes that'll definitely do it. Yep. Aw, Angie, thank you. She says Reverend Sean's passion, and Reverend Judy said I had friends here. Somebody else said a musical performance. Wow, these are coming in fast, I tell you. UU Values, and the RE program, to sing with Susan. I love it. It had a history from my youth. Yeah, some people just, they came here because their parents brought them in here as well. So, oh, hey, Kata, welcome. Looking for a service that has Zoom due to COVID. Excellent. Well, we're really glad that you're here. So let's see here. Oh my goodness, they're just coming in fast and furious. So people were friendly and they liked the minister. Karen Stoyanov was minister when Maureen came. She's awesome. And Jan said, I'm an atheist and wanted to be in community of like people. Interesting. Judith says the book, The Religions in America. I love it. So Jerry said her mother invited her. Welcome, Jerry. Glad your daughter invited you. So glad you're here. Let's see. Robin says, she saw the rainbow flag and Beth and music. Yeah, absolutely. Sarah Jones, is here. Excellent. You look like a good job. She's our administrator. I'm so glad you're here. Let's see here. Jeffrey says it fits his values. Okay, so this is usually the main reasons what I hear when I ask this question for people is one, they came for their family, for their kids. That's often a big one. The other one is they did want to find friends. They wanted to meet people and like-minded people in particular. Some people came specifically for Unitarian Universalism. That was a thing that they wanted. So they wanted to support those values and be a part of that. So yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting, there's all these different things, spiritual care. Daniel said married a Catholic woman, Jordan for Unitarian Universalism. So there's lots of different reasons. So here's my second question for you, okay? So those are the reasons why you came, but particularly for those who've been at the church for a little while, why did you stay? And these are not always the same reasons. Sometimes they are. But for those of you who've been here for, over a year or so, I'm just kind of curious, why did you stay? What were those reasons? Aw, Jolene says you. Like-minded people, yep, community, the music, the people here, intellectual stimulation. I love it. Yep, friends and relations. It's my home. I love it. 19 years in counting. Let's see, best music, strong sermons, a lovely congregation. Absolutely. Friends, yeah. So this is the vast majority of people stay, in part because they make friends. And some people, I really appreciate the people of the sermons and everything like that, but a lot of it is, or the music, but a lot of it has to be the people that you meet. You make connections, right? Which is kind of cool. So here's the third question, which is a little bit harder to answer. So I'm just kind of curious to think about this for a little bit. Maybe Beth will play a little plunk a little bit if need be. Here's the third question. Was there anything unexpected or unintended consequences, and hopefully a positive one, that you didn't expect to get from church, but you got anyways? And I'll give you an example. So I remember back in Seattle, my former home congregation in Rainier Valley, the president there told me one day, now the president of the congregation drove a bus during the day. She worked for the Metro, and so during the week. And she said, one of the things I love about coming here that I didn't expect was I get to practice my leadership skills. I can be a leader here. I can't do this in my normal workday. So she gets to practice her leadership skills, which I thought was really interesting. So that's just an example. So, all right. So unexpected consequences. Yes, Sandy, she met Dawn, her spouse here. That's an unintended consequence, isn't it? That happens, right? You might meet the love of your life. There you go. Marilyn Friend says, well, that I would become more involved with church activities. Yeah, she runs all the ushers and gets involved in doing things in meditation. Barbara Schilling says she learned to sew and to knit. Let's see here. Connections with people, becoming a member of a community. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like you sort of go, oh, I didn't really realize. Yeah, I'm going to become a member of this community and be part here. So, Daniel also discovered a church that could be intelligent. Oh, bless your heart. Elizabeth says, mentors for my children. An unexpected consequence. How wonderful. Becoming more politically aware. The Environmental Film Festival. Yeah, that was an unexpected consequence. And suddenly Karen took that up and she's learned all this stuff. So for Dave, the fiction book club, all these different things. So Nita says, I care now about social justice. Awesome. Said, I didn't expect the weekly messages to help me process the stress and grief of the 2020s, many tragedies. Oh, I'm so glad I was able to help you do that. Nice, unexpected consequence. I love it. Tatiana says, camp. Yes, you camp up in the mountains. Isn't that wonderful? Who knew that wonderful place existed until you came here, right? Unexpected consequence. I love this. Wonderful friendships and serving on the board. Absolutely. Sometimes you don't think, I think I'm just going to go to church and get a nice little message. And then suddenly, all these wonderful, unexpected things. Well, you guys came up with a lot more than I thought. So I think that's really cool. Right? Excellent. Kaz says, we didn't expect to keep coming back. So glad you're back. A church I could still be part of over my wide-ranging spiritual journey, right? However you are, wherever you are in that journey, we're here for you. Speaking of which, so let's segue then to our reading for today, because I think that's a good segue. So this reading is by a gentleman named Bernard Loomer. Now, Bernard Loomer was a theologian out of the University of Chicago for many, many years. And later in life, he was a member of the First Unitarian Church in Berkeley. And after church on Sundays, he would lead these theological discussions. And during them, he would ask the group, what is the size of your soul? And by that, he meant, what is your soul's ability to grow and to expand, to stretch when life throws more contradictions your way? And size was the defining concept of Loomer's theology. And he always wrote it this way, you see on your screen, S-I-Z-E, all in capitals with dashes, right? He thought it better conveyed the spaciousness that he intended by using the word. So I just want to give you his definition of what he means by size. He wrote this. He said, by size, I mean the stature of a person's soul, the range, the depth of your love, your capacity for relationships. I mean the volume of life you can take into your being and still maintain your integrity and individuality. The intensity and variety of outlook you can entertain in the unity of your being without feeling defensive or insecure. He said, I mean the strength of your spirit to encourage others to become freer in the development of their diversity and uniqueness. I mean the power to sustain more complex and enriching tensions. I mean the magnanimity of concern to provide conditions that enable others to increase in stature. That's a lot. The size of your soul. So my question for you this morning, in a time of taking a couple deep breaths and kind of thinking about all of that, he's very wordy, he's kind of up here, but we're going to explore that further in our sermon. So my question for you, you don't have to write this in the chat, is what does that mean to you to grow the size of your soul? What does it mean to grow the size of your soul? Like I said, we won't be writing this in chat, but when you're ready, you can join Beth in singing.
To sing a song in Spanish. It might not be totally familiar to you, so if you like, you can just listen or join with me, and I actually have written the words in Spanish and English. We're going to be singing it mostly in Spanish. Que hace otro bien.
So happy Easter, everyone. So today we're talking about really transformation. And today's sermon topic, though, the size of your soul, it's brought to you by Barbara Schilling, who bought the topic as an auction item earlier this year. So sometimes when we have our auction, I'll auction off a sermon topic and you can bid on, you get to choose the topic. Now you don't get to choose what I say, but you do get to choose the topic. So she didn't know actually about Loomer's reading, nor did she really call it, I want you to talk about the size of your soul, but ultimately that is what she wanted me to talk about. And I thought it was perfect for Easter, which is all about transformation. So let me just explain a little bit about what she was getting at. So you see, Barbara first came to this church because she was looking for a congregation she could be comfortable in, theologically and politically, and really the political side was more important to her. She also really just wanted to belong somewhere. She told me that most of her friends had been through work, and when that ended, she wanted to make some friends. She told me all I cared about in the beginning was feeling like I belonged. Spirituality was way down on the list. And sure enough, people were friendly, and she made friends. That's where it started, right? With making friends, making connections, especially in a group it's now called Stitchwits. She didn't think she could knit or sew, and they encouraged her and they taught her. Then they started doing things for charity, which got her thinking about how she could make a difference. She began encountering also new ideas from people. And thus began the expansion of her soul, its depth and its breadth. This was her unexpected consequence, that she grew the size of her soul. And by the way, for those of you who don't like the word soul, feel free to translate it however you like. You can think of it as like your character, put it that way. So Loomer talks about actually 5 different ways that people expand their soul. Now, I found him when I first read him, like he's kind of way up here, like in theory, right? So I want to bring it down here about the ways that we can expand our soul in practical manner. So I'm going to use Barbara's time here at the church as an example to illustrate what he's talking about. Now, I might use Barbara as an example, after all, it's her sermon topic, but all of you have grown your souls as well. I know you have because I've seen it. So while I might be using her as an example, I invite you to think about how your soul has grown in your life after coming here at the church, any of those different ways. So, as I mentioned, Loomer describes the size of your soul in 5 different ways. And the first way, he says, the range and depth of your love, your capacity for relationships, right? Now, Barbara, as I mentioned, she joined Stitchwits. I think back then it was called Knitwits. But upon hearing, she heard about all these different ideas that were going on out there in the people that she started expanding. She started making friends and reaching out and doing other things in the church. And one of the other things I want to talk about, because we talk about relationships, we think of people, right? But if you know Barbara, like when I first met her 8 years ago, almost 8 years ago, I had a big dog and I would bring my dog to the church. And remember, she was very afraid of dogs. She'd kind of come in and she was like, she'd take some deep breaths, like, okay, I think, my dog was very calm and everything like that. So I think it helped. And I remember when he passed away and I got a smaller dog, she would sort of tentatively greet him and everything. And then her sister had a dog as well. And slowly, bit by bit, she grew in a relationship this way. And now she has her own dog, Augie. In fact, if you were on our talent night last night, open mic night, you got to see her training Augie with treats, which was just really awesome. So part of the way that we grow in love is just also take what we're afraid of, right? And open up to it. She knew that it was okay to love dogs too. So when Loomer is talking about love, he isn't talking about romantic love or even, the best friend kind of love. You don't have to be best friends or even like everyone at church. When we talk about love in this way, what we mean is that you can see their whole humanity, not just the story that we have inside our head about them. Can you see that they are like you? They're holy. a child of God, if you will. So the second thing that Loomer talks about as what he means by the size of your soul, he says, the volume of life you can take into your being and still maintain your integrity and individuality. The volume of life you can take in your being and still maintain your integrity and individuality, the intensity and variety of outlook you can entertain, and the unity of your being without feeling defensive or insecure. Now, we're constantly pulled in different directions in life, so many different things that we can do and bring into our life. The volume of our life could be absolutely tremendous, but really even around beliefs as well. So for example, Barbara told me, she says, I don't believe in God, but I don't call myself an atheist either. She said she realized there can still be spiritual connections between people. That's something that this church taught her. She took that in and figured out where she stands, right? That's what we do. And I remember that it was sort of funny. I remember after being done, she was finance chair when I first got here. She came up to me after the service one morning and she said, Reverend Sean, I'd like to be a worship associate. I think it would really help me be more comfortable in my public speaking. And and I just love that. Like, she did all these different things and now it's like, well, here's something I'm nervous about, so I'm going to go try this, right? And it's hard when you're trying something new as an adult to not be hard on yourself, defensive or insecure. But Barbara, if you know her, she just sort of laughs. So the third thing that Loomer talks about is the strength of your spirit to encourage others to become freer in the development of their diversity and uniqueness. Let me say that again. The strength of your spirit to encourage others to become freer in the development of their diversity and uniqueness. So, when Barbara first came to Orange Coast UU Church, she had never, to her knowledge, encountered someone who was trans. And she didn't really kind of know what to think, but she knew when she first met her first trans person here, she knew she was sort of uncomfortable and she didn't like feeling that way. But what she did, she watched others being really welcoming to trans people. And slowly she kind of began to relax and to be less uncomfortable, knowing it was about her and not about them. And she acknowledges that this is still a growing edge for her and she wants to expand her soul. And knowing Barbara, she won't shy away from it. So the fourth thing that Loomer says, he says the size of her soul is the power to sustain more complex and enriching tensions, right? So here's sort of interesting. I remember the first time I ever preached on Black Lives Matter years ago. I remember this was back when they were first starting to get noticed and they were doing these lions at malls. And I remember they were in the news because Bernie Sanders, they interrupted a Bernie Sanders press conference or something like that. And I remember us trying to explain a little bit about why these were the tactics they were using. And I remember Barbara came up to me afterwards and she said, well, I still don't agree with their methods of protest. And you know what? She still might not. But she also joined the book group on white fragility and is learning about her own privilege and how that impacts her understanding of racism in this country. So here's the tension. You can still be anti-racist and not always agree on how it's handled. In that tension is where our soul is expanded. Now, number 5, Loomer says that the size of your soul is also about the magnanimity of concern to provide conditions that enable others to increase in stature. And she told me this story that she said, back when Rika was our intern last year or 2 years ago, Rika got involved with Stand Up for Kids. Rika was organizing that we would do these meals once a week out to the Stand Up for Kids for these homeless kids. And Barbara was a little intimidated by this, but she got involved in it. And Rika was looking for someone to take it on. And she was sort of thinking about it. She was even surprised she was doing that because it was pushing her out of her comfort zone. But now she's told me that she has plans that when things return to normal, she's going to organize those dinners again. She plans on leading that effort. She's creating a space for these kids to have a place where they can expand their souls. But you know, it's kind of funny. She told me, I thought about what the church could do for me, but I never thought, how is this going to change me? I never thought how big the change would be. Surprise! Surprise! Unintended consequences. So, all right, now it's your turn. We're going to open up the chat again. And I want to know, how has this church changed you? How have you grown your soul since coming here? Let's take a few minutes, maybe a few deep breaths, and I'll read those responses out loud. How have you grown the size of your soul? So Tracy says it reminded me to slow down and get to know my soul and enjoy other souls. And Jacques says, after coming to this church, I am less rigid in my beliefs. Linda Clough says, let me count the ways, too many to identify. Bless your heart. Ken says, it has helped me maintain hope through difficult times and expanded too. Tatiana says, every time I'm at this church, it centers me. It takes me back to my good self. Aw. Daniel Noel says, there may be more to religion than atheism. And Ken says, the scope of activism. Alex, advocating for more discussion and contemplation of reparations. That was his sermon topic. Excellent. Sunny says, I feel so much more inclusive and aware how lucky I am. Ah, gratitude, yeah. Tom says, beyond just friends to loving and caring friendships. Karen says, learning to be more compassionate. Jen says, it brought me a lot of comfort and joy at just the right time when I really needed it. Awesome, Jen. And Dave says, every once in a while, I can understand that I can be more than I am. Oh, I love that. I love that. Jeffrey says, more open-minded every day. And Hannah, all the way out in Minneapolis, says, simply joining and staying in a spiritual community has been new for me. My negative perception of church and religion has changed. It has also revealed a yearning in me to do more, to be more, give more. Oh, I love it, Hannah. That's awesome. And says, see other aspects of people, what they have to offer the world, what they would have never have occurred to me. I know, right? Expand my worldview. Joelle and Jolynn, empathy and becoming closer to folks we may not have been before. And Nancy says, more empathetic, not just to those close to me, but to those in the wider world. Awesome. Stretching intellect, becoming more compassionate. Yay, that makes me happy. Because here's the thing, right? We have our third principle. Our third principle is the acceptance of one another and the encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, right? So, you know, I couldn't help but laugh a little bit at Barbara's unintended consequence of coming to church. I mean, after all, this is exactly what I hope for every single week. Every week is an invitation for you to grow the size of your soul. That's where we practice this here in this church. And in fact, every small group, every board meeting, every time we get together, that's an invitation to grow your soul, to encounter other, right? That's what we're here for. We accept you as you are, but also encourage you to grow the size of your soul. It's why we're here. It's the purpose of church, as Eric Wickstrom said in our opening words. I think that people come to church, particularly a Unitarian Universalist church, generally speaking, they always think they're here to change or to grow. They have a theology or whatever that might be, and they don't want it to change. And in fact, one of the reasons to come to a UU church is to be accepted for who you are, including your theology. I think they somehow think that if we change, we won't be who we are, that somehow it means that we have to change who we are, but that's not true. We actually just deepen who we are, expand who we are. When people come to church, it might be in the back of their minds, down on the list, that we might learn a few things or have some things to think about, but we want to think about growing or changing. And it happens anyways. It happens bit by bit, little by little, anytime we encounter someone different from ourselves. And in this church, you have 140 people different from yourself, 140 people with slightly different theologies, 140 people with slightly different approaches to life, 140 people with different genders, different romantic partners, different races, different abilities, different education, just different, right? So how could you not expand the size of your soul? Each time we come up against a difference, it's a moment when we can expand our soul. You know, today is Easter Sunday. It's the day when many in the Christian tradition celebrate and honor the transformation of a man who died long ago. But transformation happens all the time if we let it, bit by bit. But it will be up to you to open to that transformation, to open your soul. You know, we're sailing on this beautiful blue earth together through the wide universe. May our time here on this earth expand our souls. Let us sing.
I've been
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing one half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. Throughout the month of April, we are supporting Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry of California. Information about this organization is on the screen. Their mission is to advance justice in our state of California by cultivating and connecting leaders and communities, and by empowering the public voice of those who share UU values and principles. Please give generously so that this organization can help to educate and organize for justice that transforms our world. There are multiple ways in which you can support the church and Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry of California. You can mail a check, or as shown in the slide, you can go through our website, use an app called Give Plus, or by texting. The choice is yours. All the information is on the website should you need it. As always, thank you for your generosity.
I've heard it said, let people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn,
and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return.
Well, I don't know if I believe that's true,
But I know I'm who I am today because I knew you.
like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets the boulder halfway through the wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good.
It well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say before we part, so much of me is made of what I learned from you. You'll be with me. You'll be with me. Like a handprint on my heart. And now whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend.
Like a ship blown from its mooring by a wind off the sea, like a seed dropped by a skybird in a distant wood. Who can say if I've been changed for the better?
But because I knew you,
because I knew you.
I have been changed for good. And just to clear the air, I ask forgiveness for the things I've done you've blamed me for.
But then I guess we know there's blame to share.
And none of it seems to matter anymore. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes by a wind of the sea, like a stream that meets the boulder halfway through the wood.
So as you all know, this is our pledge drive season. It's sort of a little bit like NPR. If you know, we have a season starts from March and it ends in April, where we need to, we do a pledge drive that helps us build our budget for the year. And we need to know, you can hear from everybody to get your pledge in. And I'll say a little bit more about that later. But one of the things that we've been doing to help you understand, like, how things changed in this last year of going online and what it takes to do everything. And so we've been having these little videos, and each of the staff have given you a little background on how, basically what goes on behind the scenes. So this is the last of them, and this is mine. This is behind the scenes and worship. Have fun with this. Last spring, here in Orange County and at the church, everything was going along so smoothly. Life was good. When suddenly the pandemic hit. My head was screaming with all the things I needed to do. How to get people online? How could we do worship on Zoom? How do we keep people safe? Oh, how could I do it all? And then, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, they came one by one, my heroes. There was Nina Smith. Using her super organizational power, she gathered a geek squad to save those stranded at home without technical knowledge. And then Steve Morahiro zoomed in, quite literally, using his extensive brain power, helped us figure out how to move worship online. And others followed him one by one, the Zoom Master Squad, recording, spotlighting, turning chat on and off, setting up breakout rooms, tracking all the little details that go on behind the scenes. It's heroic. And more heroes showed up. Our wonderful slideshow people suddenly had capes and superpowers. They had to figure out how to run a slideshow remotely, hitting their cues and making it look so easy. Then our wonderful worship associates collaborated, revising the text, coordinating their parts with the slideshow operators. It took a lot of fancy footwork. And then there were the evil minions to deal with, the Zoom bombers. The next round of heroes were the virtual ushers stepping up to the plate, offering warm greetings to show that you were loved, and dire consequences to the bombers. Actually, they just removed them. In order to keep it all running smoothly, Beth, our team, and I charge into battle every week. We battle the evils of computer snafus and sound oddities every Saturday at 4 p.m. during rehearsal, using our superpowers to ask, are the videos too loud? Not loud enough? How's Beth's sound? When are we opening chat? Who needs to be spotlighted and when? And just to make sure those evils are gone for good, we meet again at 9:30 on Sunday morning to duke it out with any of those that are left. A lot of heroes gave of their time, talent, and treasure to make worship happen on Sunday morning, including you. You can continue to help us keep the villains at bay by supporting our 2021-2022 operating pledge drive as generously as you can.
Well, it's difficult to follow that one. Please join Beth in singing "We Gather Together," a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts we share.
Gather
Okay, I admit that every time I see that video, it makes me laugh. So I grew up with Batman and all of those sounds and everything. At any rate, welcome to Joys and Sorrows. This is that weekly ritual that we have where we honor the important events and people in our lives. And you're invited, one and all, whether you're a member, a friend, or a visitor, to participate in this. So basically, if you come here holding something close to your heart, something that you would like to honor, we invite you to light a candle with it. And if you'd like to share that joy or sorrow with the congregation, we then invite you to put that in the chat. So just take some deep breaths as Beth will play a little in contemplation. If you'd like to share that, put them in the chat and I'll read them out loud. And you can help me not to miss any of these by not putting in a response right away to the joy or sorrow, though feel free to send it to them directly. You can do that in your chat. So thank you. Beth will play some music and then we'll read those joys and sorrows out loud. So Karen is expressing that she has a joy for Amelia's teaching, the Sunday meditation group. And Amelia is going to be teaching another group. I'll tell you about that in just a little bit as well. So Rachel mentions that she's got a new cat and her son Ian is absolutely thrilled. So congratulations on the new kitty. Linda Clough has a joy and a sorrow as remembering her mother, Dorothy, who was born on March 31st, 1907. It was in Venice, Italy in 1957, and she was 20. Oh, the picture was in Venice, Italy. Oh, I see. I bet there's a picture behind her. It was from Venice, Italy in 1957 when she was 20 years old. Dave Carlson has a candle of appreciation for Beth and the choir. Beth and the choir, Beth and the choir, Beth and the choir, Beth and the choir. Did I mention Beth and the choir? Says Dave. Absolutely, aren't they amazing? And Joel says, thank you, Beth, for giving us the opportunity to sing last night. Yes, there was our wonderful open mic night last night. Wonderful performances by everyone. Was really blown away by the talent in this congregation. And Mary says that she's grateful for this church congregation and how everyone has enriched her life. Yeah. So Jordan says he doesn't know what kind of candle this is, but he feels awful. He had a negative interaction with someone at the park and he feels lonely and he misses his brother. He says his life is good, but maybe this is a candle for frustration. Lots of good going on, but just feel incongruent and frustrated. Glad to be here, but I don't really want to be anywhere right now. Aw. All right, everybody, virtual hug for Jordan. There you go. All right, and Hannah says she's so grateful for this beautiful community that inspires me every week, and also thankful that I was able to get her first vaccine shot. Yes, yay. Kathleen McFarland says, Mark Renshaw, oh, this is Mark Renshaw saying this, is joyful for having my 2-year-old grandson here for an Easter egg hunt today. Woo, yay! I know, people are able to get together with their grandchildren, yay. So, and Sarah Jones says, what a joy it is to see everyone's faces today. She's truly missed us. Sarah's our administrator and she has been ill for quite some time. So we're really great that Sarah is here with us. And Phil says, a sorrow for my good friend Ernest Adams, who was struck while riding his bicycle last Sunday in Costa Mesa by a drunk driver, and he died last Sunday. Oh, Phil, I'm so sorry. Oh, let's hold that really gently. That's so hard. And Jan Rovin says, I was glad to visit the church and see the wonderful redo of the office building. Yeah, we've been doing renovations, right? This whole time I figured it's a good time to do it. So, and Ken Arnold says he finally got his first shot. Woohoo! I love hearing about people getting their shots. It's a happy, happy thing. So, all right. Oh, Tatiana says she has a joy She says, my mom and stepdad have moved from Michigan to Costa Mesa. Yay, they're here. She said, we just helped rent an apartment for them yesterday. Lots of happiness and celebration this Easter for us. Excellent. Yes. And Ken also wants to point out a joy and sorrow over the incredible Bruin game season. All right, Ken. Excellent. Oh, I'm so glad for you, Tatiana, too. Right on. All right, let's hold in love all the joys and celebrations. That's that expansion of the soul. All the joys and celebrations and all that hurt and sadness, whether it's been spoken or it's held silently in your heart. Let our joys remind us to be thankful. Our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. And all of these moments remind us that we too, we're not alone in any of this. So I invite you to join me in a spirit of prayer. It's called This Prayer is for You by Jess Reynolds. This prayer is for you. Yes, you. You with your mud-caked dreams and thistle-studded heart. This clear water prayer is for you, that your path might wander by a stream to wash your feet in and a stretch of flat stone to sun them dry. I see you in the desert, burying your bare feet to blisters in the sharp sand until you fall to your knees with the hot ache of it all. This bright wind prayer is for you, darling, that you might find branches to shade your face and one clean breath to fill your lungs. From the shore, I cannot see your boat for the fog, but I hear you. Hear the sea shanties you sing just to keep your heart beating. Oh, beloved, I am singing too, a harmony above the waves that is nothing but a prayer for you. Under the wide thundering sky, I will find you. You, unsure if you believe in God, believe in anything but the tangled weeds in your garden and the stones under your shoes. Under the wide thundering sky, I will tell you, you are proof enough of great love in the world, no matter the weather. Yes, you. Amen.
Let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say, we extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. We are a congregation made up of people who all believe differently. And yet, when we gather together, virtually or otherwise, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you are a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. We encourage you to write in the chat your name and where you are from so we can welcome you. If you'd like to know more about our church, including programming for children and youth, please contact us at hello@ocuuc.org, and we will help you get connected. In addition, we invite you to sign up for our weekly email called The Blast at blast@ocuuc.org. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community, so please reach out and we will help you get connected. After the benediction, we will have a short period where everyone can wave and say hello. Those who remain will be placed into Zoom breakout groups for 20 minutes. We invite you to check in and get to know the people in your group and welcome any visitors.
All right, and announcements, things that are going on. I want to point out a few things. We've got our normal groups going on, the AHA group, fiction book group, Inquire, that sort of thing. We've got a new class coming up on mindfulness led by Amelia, and it's going to be a wonderful, I think it's just like a pretty straightforward class, but there's information on the Blast and on the website about it. So please look that up. It looks like it'll be absolutely wonderful if you want to know anything about mindfulness and relaxation techniques and how to deal with stress. This will be a really good one for you. And the other thing is, it gone out this week is we put a survey out. Many of you have already responded. Thank you. We've got a really good response back on that. I want to continue to keep looking for that survey that went out. And of course, next Sunday, we're going to have a town hall meeting after the service about this reopening, exploring reopening. It's going to be still a little while yet, but we're working on it. And part of it is that we're trying to figure out how to do it all. So we want to let you know what's going on and take your questions and hopefully have some answers for you. So the last thing, the big thing, is it's pledge drive time, as I mentioned earlier. So according to Sandy, we have not received as many pledges as we'd like. And did you know that you can do this online? Just go to our website, ocuuc.org, and under support, you'll see Pledge Now. So I want you to, if you have not done it and you're like, oh, I keep forgetting to do that, I need to do that, I want you to take a little notepad. I want you to write it down right now. I will go make a pledge. It's okay, we'll wait. Go do that right now. Go on, really, write it down. There you go, excellent, excellent. Your to-do list today is to make a pledge, and you can do it online. You don't have to mail it in. I know it was all mailed out to everybody, but you can easily do it online. So there you go. And Barbara Moore Heroes even put the link. You can just click on the link right now and go there and do it. So thank you. And of course, you can also, when you do so, you get this nifty bag that we're put together. But you know, this is one of the things, though, I just want to point out that, you know, Sandy's job, Sandy is the chair of our pledge drive, and this is one of the hardest jobs in the church. It's totally volunteer. She does this because she loves this church and she wants to see it succeed. But this is the hardest part, is getting people's pledges in. It's really hard. So please, she doesn't want to have to make a ton of phone calls. Just go do that. Do that right now if you can. That would be awesome. Thank you. And also, you can also, if you need help paying your pledge online, Meg also put a link. You can email her at finance@ocuc.org if you want to have like automatic, right? Rather than just sending in a check or that sort of thing. But you can also do it via that Give Plus app as well. So, all right, excellent. So you've written it down, right? And you're going to go do that. Awesome. Thank you all so much. Let us join Beth in singing our benediction. May we all go forth here this morning, not who we were, but who we could be. This service is over. Let our service continue.